coaches as we did on the wrestling side of things. And we thought, well, we're both junior college All-Americans and junior college athletes. Why don't we tap into what's going on in JUCO, NAIA, Division two, Division three, and get in our wheelhouse and promote those schools? Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of great stories at those levels and those programs, and they just don't get the notoriety that the Power Four schools get. And so, what we've been able to do in the last 2 years is really build a really cool catalog and meet a lot of amazing coaches around the country that are doing awesome stuff. And that was the other thing, is we're just trying to create conversations with coaches like yourself that we wish our guidance counselors would have presented to us when we were in college, because, or in high school rather, because we're big fans of getting out of your bubble and experiencing the world. And sometimes parents or guidance counselors or coaches at the high school level maybe don't encourage you to go across the country or go take a chance on an NAIA school. I was recruited by Scott Simmons down at the University of Mobile way back when he was
Oh,
first
wow.
starting out coaching. And so that was when the NAIA came onto my radar way back when. My parents talked me out of that back then, but we still support the NAI and all that they've got going on. We've had Everett Silva on, we've had Coach Souter on, we've had the coach from St. Mary's on, and so we were next on our list, and so we are excited to chat with you tonight.
Yeah, great to be here. Love it. To be able to bring a voice to a lot of great folks at this level is awesome. I was speaking to another really good coach in the NAI, Nate Wolf, today, and those guys do a great job at Dordt University, and they've got a stud up there in Peyton Malden, and I don't think the coaches or the athletes in this league, and probably across a lot of sports, get the love that they deserve. To be quite honest.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about cross country and track and field is you're fast or you jump high or you throw far. It doesn't. It's across the board. It doesn't matter. It's universal. So that's the cool thing about it, is that all the divisions come together, all the schools come together, and you could be at the University of Arkansas or up at BU or over at Vanderbilt or wherever, and maybe at the new track at UPenn, and it all comes
Yeah.
together, and the watch doesn't lie. So. Yeah, it's exciting, and like I said, there's a lot of cool stories, and we're just trying to share them, one with our fans, but then also get the word out to the recruits that hey, there's lots of schools out there, and if you're willing to put in the work and be a dedicated student athlete, there's a place for you.
Yeah. Love it.
Awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It's another Monday night. You know what we do over here at Airey Bros Radio, and tonight we are back on the cross country course, back in the indoor oval, back on the track and field surface with another amazing coach joining us from the NAIA ranks. Coach Chris Layne from Milligan University. He's the director of track and field and cross country. He's entering his 25th season, and he was also recently inducted into the 2025 Carter County Sports Hall of Fame. He's had 3 national championships, and in 2025, the men's team was a runner-up, and the women were fourth. They've had 5 All-Americans this year on the men's side, and they had 4 All-Americans on the women's side, bringing the total to 186 All-Americans across the board in track and field and cross country, along with 17 individual national championships. They've had 37 AAC team championships and 10 USTFCCA Program of the Year finishes. 6 Milligan cross country and track and field athletes have been inducted into the Milligan Athletics Hall of Fame as well. So, Coach Layne, welcome to Airey Bros Radio. We do greatly appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, and we're excited to chat with you tonight about all the good things that you got going on up in the upper eastern corner of Tennessee.
Happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an honor and a pleasure, and we are, like I said, stoked to chat with you. But before we get too deep into the conversation, if you have any places on social media where you would like people to find you or the program, anywhere you want us to send recruits, any parents that might have questions about the university or the program, the floor is yours.
Yeah, all of our social handles are the same at Milligan XCTF. So pretty easy to find us on Facebook, Insta, Twitter. I know we need to expand that a little bit more, and perhaps into TikTok and whatnot. And interestingly enough, I actually do our social media, and so I need to get over that anxiety hurdle of the really hip stuff and stay on top of our game there. But yeah, pretty simple. That's our, again, Milligan XCTF. Those are our handles across the board. And would love to pick up a few more followers. That's something that's been really important to us.
Yeah, and as content creators ourselves, sometimes we have that anxiety of what to post or what not to post. And I think Jimmy and I have come to the conclusion it's just like any content is good content. You can't be too concerned about, if you don't have the greatest of camera or the greatest of equipment, but the people that follow you and support you, like seeing those sorts of things and having those updates. So when in doubt, just hit post, right, Jim?
Yeah, and coach, I am quite curious because like Rich said at the beginning of this, you've been coaching for 25 years, and I know we're gonna get into how, but how has that evolved for you starting 25 years ago at Milligan? So you might have been coaching prior to that, but now social media is such a big thing. And you just said, I got to get on the TikTok and I got to start with the videos and stuff. Do you enjoy that? Is it a pain? How is the social media for you and how have you kind of evolved to I run the social media now and I'm making the post?
Yeah, yeah, I love it, to be quite honest, because that's one platform where we get to control the narrative and tell our story, and so I think it's extremely important. Obviously, the Johnson City Press or WJHL, some of our local outlets, these guys aren't going to talk about us every week, and so really, social media is how we get out to our cross country and track and field family, our alums, our prospects, and tell that story. And so it's extremely important. I enjoy the creative stuff. We just hired a director of digital media in athletics, and she's really kind of finding her way, and she's really good at taking the ideas and then putting them into a graphic or whatnot. I wish I had that talent because I enjoy the I part of it. Hey, this is what we want to do, and it's crucial for us because again, that's a controllable, and so be good at the things you can control, that are within reach, and started doing social media. Oh my goodness, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how long it's been, and you just obviously it's evolved and it continues to evolve. And I had a conversation with a young lady in our program the other day, and she's really good with the camera. She said, "Hey, coach, I'm going to start grabbing video content. Let's start doing more." And so we do a lot of that with pictures, by committee. We had an awesome assistant who took pictures for a number of years, and she's moved on to big girl work in the real world, and so now it's kind of by committee, and you just realize how crucial it is because you may be up against a kid in the recruiting game, and they're looking at at a program that's got their own content creator that's traveling with them, and they've got the best camera and they've got the best equipment, and they don't have to coach as well. They don't have to, worry about meals or whatever that is. And so we work hard to make sure that every time we travel, we've got somebody on the road with us that can grab content, and then we work together to get it out there.
Yeah, it's been fun too to see with the conversations we've had across the board with different programs, different divisions, and different organizations that sometimes, schools that just could pop on your radar, it's like, oh, they got a better marketing team, behind them than some of these Power Four schools. It's like, and kids are going to be kids, teenagers are going to be teenagers, and things like social media posts and new uniforms or different uniforms or unique uniforms, that those are still things that kind of can draw kids in and get attention over some of the bigger schools. So it's free marketing, and when you figure out the algorithm and how to kind of find your niche, and also having student athletes within the program that are interested in those sorts of things, it makes it easy that you know some of these kids have great cameras, or even if they have a brand new iPhone 16, they can do some pretty cool things with it, and it really keeps the content flowing. And like I said, keeping the fans informed and keeping the recruits informed is what it's all about.
We do a lot of work with recruiting strategists, and I really appreciate they give us feedback on a lot of different things throughout the process, and that they felt really good about what we're doing on the social media side, and again, but that's like coaching. You fall asleep on that for 6 months, and somebody's going to zoom right by you. And so, you know, that's that goes way beyond just the X's and the O's and laying out that training week. But that's enjoyable, and I think that's the thing that we just try to do internally is and we're not perfect and we don't get everything right, but just trying to. You mentioned uniforms, right? How you travel, how you fuel, what offerings do you have, recovery, boost treadmill, like all of those things allow us in this sport to be competitive. And then you get a kid that thinks a little bit differently, wants something different, and they feel like, man, I can run just as fast there, and I like what I'm seeing. Then you win a battle, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. And we want to get into the beyond the X's and O's, because that's one thing that Jimmy and I love to talk with the coaches about, is that CEO role of what it takes to be a director of track and field and cross country. But I guess before we get into that, we all have our origin stories of how we got into running or wrestling, and how we got into coaching. I know. I think you said you were growing up. You were a ball sport kid. You played football,
Yeah.
basketball, and baseball, and it was maybe a baseball coach that encouraged you to try track and field. And I guess maybe there was a mile involved in that maybe wasn't your forte. But how did the track and field go for you, and how did that get you to Middle Tennessee State?
Yeah. Uh, you know, watching what just like you guys, watching the Olympics. I just there was something about the sport. I remember Carl Lewis, Ben Johnson. Even before that, I'm in high school. I trying to find a track and field news magazine to try and figure out what spikes Carl
Mm.
Lewis was wearing, and they were the Mizuno Runbirds, if I'm not mistaken. And so I was really intrigued by how elegant Carl Lewis was as a sprinter, and so that definitely piqued my interest. So doing the ball sports, and my stepdad recognized that I got around the base path fairly quickly, and I think he actually went home and said to my mom, "Hey, we ought to see if Chris wants to do track," and so they asked me. I went out for a summer track program. My mom bought me a big pair of those clunky gray New Balance, and I show up for practice, and um, here I am, skinny white kid. I don't know, soaking wet, probably 125. Instantly, they put me in the mile. So, ran a couple races, hated it because obviously didn't have the fitness
Mm.
to be successful at it. And then this was seventh grade, and didn't go back to track until my junior year of high school. And so I had been playing football, and my wide receiver coach was our track coach. And so, really just started seeing that speed kind of develop on the football field. And I lacked the killer mentality in football that you really have to have, because I didn't play football prior to high school either. And so went out for track. He put me in the sprint events, and the rest was history. Walked on at East Tennessee State, and that's really where I think the coaching opportunity began, because you're in a program where sprinters aren't that important. They've got a big time distance program, the Irish Brigade, Dave Walker, and all the guys that are my guys. They're all the distance guys, and you're around them, and you're starting to learn and appreciate distance running. I remember, because I was the only 400-meter runner, would made that DMR to Florida and the Florida relays, and Florida State relays. And here I am, I'm running 49:50 seconds, but, we've got a 2:58.12 leg, and you've got a 1:58 leg, and then you've got a 3:58 anchor leg, and you're a part of this 9:40 DMR that's just super competitive. So from there, and then of course, Ray Flynn, what it was happening at East Tennessee State at the time with the pro meet indoors. And then so you just continue to be around the right people. And then so my mother and stepdad were going through a divorce. Mom needed help at home. I moved back to Murfreesboro, and they had just started the program back at Middle Tennessee State. And so then there's another legendary coach in Dean Hayes. And quite interestingly enough, Dean and Coach Walker were really close, kind of started right around the same time. Then the next thing you know, you're in this program at Middle Tennessee where the sprints are important, continue to develop, actually start to be able to see times improve. Roland McGee, I've got 27-foot long jumpers around us. Charlie Simpkins, silver medalist in Barcelona in the triple jump, trains with us every day. And then so you're just around this culture of hard work and the sport at a level. Coach Hayes is world championship coach in one of those years that I was there. And so again, you're just ending up in the right place at the right time around the right people. And then, I floundered a little bit and didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I loved the sport. Came back to East Tennessee State. Grad school opportunity opened up coaching with Mylan Donnelly, the new head coach at East Tennessee State. I'm sure after the first semester he wanted to fire me because I had no idea what I was doing. And but Mylan was that guy that he would keep single coaches young. He would keep us in the office at night, and he had a family at home, and he'd buy books, and he'd get on the whiteboard, and we'd talk training. And the next thing you know, you're developing this love and passion for this sport on the coaching side. And then, the rest was really kind of history. I did jump into the sports management world for couple of years, and then the Milligan program was getting ready to kickstart from scratch. They had dropped it in the 80s, and just again in my just really got lucky, just kind of right place at the right time, and off we went. And so I don't know if it's a matter of having this brilliant methodology. It's really about just being fortunate enough to be around the right people at the right time who invested in me as a coach. And that really drove my passion to continue to do this. And for me, there's no better feeling to see any kid at any level just get better.
Yeah, no doubt about that, Jim. I got one thing real quick that Coach touched on, and I just would like for him to speak on it real quick if he could. As a former football player who got into track again because of his football coach, and now as the director of track and field, even though Milligan doesn't have a football program, can you kind of just, for the football coaches out there, tell them how important it is, whether it's a lineman or a running back or a quarterback? Like, there's so many different things in track and field that football players can do that's going to improve their athleticism, and how important that is for high school football coaches to encourage their athletes to run track in the spring or in the wintertime.
Oh, listen, it, track and field and the training that takes place in track and field, it's been light years. I mean, ahead of really every other sport, and that's training, that's recovery, that's speed, that's strength. I mean, some of the most brilliant minds in track and field were you think about Dan Paff and you think about Lauren Seagrave and you think about Tudor Bumpel on the strength side and you think about all these folks that developed this and all the stuff, all the drills, everything that all of us do, or hopefully all of us do, um, just what that does to holistically develop a kid really in any sport, but especially football, because speed and power, right? And it fills a gap. It's you're around the greatest kids you can be around. We do it year round. And so what a compliment on so many different levels for a football player to have that opportunity to do that, to develop that speed. I chuckled last night. If you watch Boston, Noah Lyles threw that, he threw that challenge up to Tyreek Hill, but that's why, I think there's a big fear among a certain demographic of coaches, certain demographic of athletic directors that they just are really fearful of the sport, primarily because they don't understand it. And those that understand it appreciate it and allow their kids to be involved in that. And I just would say to the coaches and to ADs alike, right? Don't be afraid of the sport. Embrace it. My first AD, the guy that hired me, Mark Fox, I mean, he wasn't a track guy, but his son was a college quarterback and is now a successful college coach. And he would send his son out with the pro sprint group in the summertime as a high school kid, just to work on turnover, just to work on mechanics, to be around athletes that were going to kind of buy into him and so much there to absorb. And yeah, so I think that's some of it. I think there's a fear, there's an unknown, right? Those people that think we just go out and run and that's all you do. Really, it's not complex at all. And those are the folks that probably shy away from allowing those kids to do so, or don't take our sport as serious as we wish they would.
Amen.
Coach, you brought up being at the right place at the right time and being in the right programs with good culture and good communities. And then you got the opportunity at Milligan and you were at the right place at the right time. And you also kind of just talked about the X's and the O's and the workouts and stuff, but it's more than that. And like Rich said at the beginning of this podcast, you've had 186 All-Americans, so you're doing a pretty good job building that dynasty. What came first, the X's and O's, getting a couple of those All-American plaques, or building that culture and building that community?
Yeah, I think I would like to think that going back now a quarter of a century, right? I'm not getting any younger, but I really think the mindset was to try to do both. I'm a big believer that the first thing a coach should be really good at is coaching, and that does not dismiss the other responsibilities. But and so again, you go back to these athletic directors, be it at the high school level or the collegiate level, I don't know how you do it, guys, but figure out how to hire coaches that can coach, that have a methodology that is commensurate with success and long-term development. And I'm fearful with what's happening at the Power Four level. We're going to get further and further away from that. That's really concerning. I think we tried to do those together. Our very first cross country meet was on the Creeper Trail in Abingdon, Virginia, against Emory and Henry. And it was my goal for us to be able to start out with a positive experience. So we loaded up the van. We went to this flat out and back rails to trails. and the Buffs came home with 2 paper certificates and 2 wins. And that's how we started, you know, this uh, this story. And so then at that point, it was important for our kids to look good. It was important to do the homework to make sure that I had the training down, pat. And I think the details have always been important to me, just in life in general, in with regard to how we look and how we present ourselves. And I used to take our van and wash it before we would travel, just to get the smell of the other 27 teams that used it the last 3 weeks out of it, right? And to just try to give our kids an experience that was going to be really positive. And that's where we started. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Zap Fitness crew, but Ryan Warnberg, one of their assistants, really good coach. Ryan talked to our kids one year, and he said, "Hey man, we just we had to fake it until we made it, and that's what you did. And so you create a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and then you lean on a network of coaches, and that's just really how I built my acumen. I got to be completely honest with you. Mylan Donnelly had a huge impact on me, and of course, Mylan worked with Joe Vigil, and Mylan got me connected with Joe. And I would come into the office when I first started, and I would get in early, and I would have faxes from Coach Vigil sitting on the fax machine, and I would literally take this in the office and sit down, and I didn't understand what he was saying. Now it all makes sense. But I'm reading this, I'm like, well, aren't we just supposed to do 12 400s today? And they talk about these threshold runs, and I know we need to do a lot, and so it just, so all that kind of moved together, and we faked it a little bit until we made it. But I think the key was never venturing too far. We knew hard work was always going to help us, right? Build your training around the distance that you're racing. And so there was some basics there. And, Coach Walker at East Tennessee State was as tough as they came. When I got to campus, the first day of practice, it was in the low 90s. I was a 400-meter runner. He took me out in the van with the Irish guys, dropped us off on a course they call the Hilly J, 10 miles from campus. And he said, "Chris, you're going to have to keep somebody in sight or you won't get back because you don't know where you're going." And I can remember it was so rough. I'm dipping down into mud puddles in the road. We had thunderstorms, and I'm splashing water. And lo and behold, I hung on, right? And so, I knew that probably wasn't the way I was going to start out with our kids who were in club cross country, who would, probably go hide behind the tree, dump a little water on them, come back out and say, "Boy, coach, rough day today. I'm sweating a little bit." So I also learned maybe how we weren't going to do some things from even some of the people that I respected the most.
Well, Coach, there's a lot of things there I want to kind of give you dabs on. The first is, and I don't want to butcher the Deion Sanders quote, but you look good, you play good. Our dad kind of instilled this in that in us. I think Rich did a way better job than I did. I was kind of like Pigpen getting on the wrestle mat. I was just worried about wrestling. Rich was folding his clothes and always presenting himself nice. But as an older man, I try to do my best with that. And then you said a coach should coach first, right? And then you want to hire good coaches around you so you can do the other things. Like at the beginning of the podcast, you said, buying treadmills, doing the social media, and Rich had mentioned that we were going to talk about your CEO position. So what does that look like nowadays? Obviously, you probably have some good coaches around you that can do some of the programming, handling the X's and O's. What does your daily look like? What do you prefer to do? Would you prefer to hand some of those other coaches? You have other people doing the expense reports, stuff like that. What does your CEO position look like?
Yeah. So, obviously, I just the one thing that really drives me is working with our distance kids. You know, I and some of that and this is a, you know, I'm a former sprinter, but some of that is I always believe, man, protect what you're good at. Make sure you continue to be good at what got you here, and then build around that. And that doesn't mean other products don't catch up. That doesn't mean they don't pass by, but keep the standard, right? And so, you know, for me, the distances have been what we started with, and there's a story behind that and why we did that. But you know, that was a administrative decision. But yeah, now, so you know, you want to build around that. So day in and day out, my main primary coaching responsibility is coaching our men and women on the distance side. I handle all the business, you know, accounting, check requests, payments, you know, recruit meals, all of that really flows through me. We kind of talked about the social media stuff a little bit. Our other event area coaches, they have complete autonomy. If I see something, I'll comment. If I feel like I can make a positive, you know, suggestion, I'll comment. But I never really get into putting my thumb on what our coaches are doing. I've hired them. If they don't get the job done, then it's going to be my responsibility to figure out how to handle that. And so, you know, we've got a full staff. We've got a fantastic women's assistant in Courtney Klatt. She ran at Portland, started at Xavier, graduated, went to Portland, got her MBA. Fantastic distance runner. She's been she handles a lot of our recruiting on the front end, handles a lot of our logistics and travel. Then Byron Kramer, sprints, jumps, hurdles coach, and Byron's really got a love and a passion for the multis, the vault, and those are things that are really starting to develop for us. You know, part of my responsibility there is historically, you know, making sure that you know, we've got great hurdlers and great sprinters, and making sure that those kids are priority and continue to be priority, and working with the staff to make sure that, because we all, you know, you tend to migrate towards what you are most passionate about. And I think as a head coach, you know, I have to remind myself, you got to remember to, you know, you're in charge of everybody. You know, I'm heavily involved in our athletic department, help a lot with marketing and branding. You know, fortunate that we have a general administration at the university that will involve me in projects and things that we're doing, among other coaches that have been there for a while. You know, we got a brand new president, and so he's making all sorts of changes and adaptations and adjustments and new projects. And so I appreciate being able to be involved in those, because you know, Milligan is a place where you know, you wear many hats. But you know, we go back, we keep bringing up football, but you know, we've got 108 kids in our program. So track and cross country is football at Milligan. And so you are appreciated a little differently than perhaps some programs in our sport are appreciated at other institutions. And I value that. But on the flip side, they let us operate the way that we want to, and trust us to do things right. And you know, and I think a lot of our coaches do a really good job of that. But you know, and then I think the other important thing is you know, you have a family, and I love that we can do what we're doing and feel accomplished, and a lot of pride in what we're doing. But I get to go watch my daughter run in a track meet, or you know, and I've got friends that have been at the Power 4 level that said, you know what, it's time to move into something else, because I'm going to raise my kids. I've raised everybody else's kids. I'm going to raise mine. And so this opportunity, and after 25 years, you ought to become halfway decent at what you're doing, and it becomes efficient, so that you can enjoy life a little bit. But I value that about who we are as an institution.
Coach, you're talking about coming up as a sprinter, being a sprinter, 400-meter runner, but you've always seemed in your journey to be passionate about distance running, or got to start, with the mile, and then your experience with the Irish runners and those sorts of things, and having to, Coach Vigil sending you faxes and those sorts of things. Was the idea when the program started was to go like a Portland route or a Furman route where you're going to have a very distance oriented program, and then it grew into what it is now with the 100+ athletes?
At the time, I was out of college coaching, working in the sports management world, working with Ray Flynn. Ray's neighbor, Mark Fox, was the then AD at Milligan, and he's the guy that hired me. He's the guy that really made the decision to start the program. Um, you know, Small institution, high academic, tuition driven, right? You've got the faith element to who Milligan is. It's a unique deal. And so one of the big things is, hey, we our kids are our customers. We gotta get kids on campus, and this was another way to do that, that tuition driven element. But the goal was exactly that. It was to start a cross country program, have 7 men, 7 women, and just be as successful as we could be. Um, I really think the turning point was twofold. We won the bid to host the NAIA Indoor National Championships with the city at East Tennessee State in their indoor facility. And Milligan was going to be the host school, which meant I had the honors of being the meet director, which I had never done before. And so, my argument right away was, hey, if we're going to do this, we got to have track kids. So we got to either allow our distance kids to run track or expand. And so really at first it was just about cultivating the distance side of things. The other thing was 9/11. And when 9/11 happened, I think a lot of people that were really looking at the fiscal side of things were saying, okay, we need to be careful. Where are we headed? And then really that tuition driven mentality expanded. And then, one of the things that our AD and administration allowed us to do is that if we grew our numbers, they were going to allow us to expand our program with budget and staff. And so, there were some lean years of 5, 7, 10, 12 kids. And then you get 20. And I think we've had probably 5 or 6 years now of record recruiting classes on average, to the point where we are today. And we still don't have a facility on campus. And I know a lot of our peers struggle with that as well. But that doesn't help on the sprints, jumps, and hurdles side, doesn't help on the technical event side. But we found ways of transcending that. And I think that's what NAIA coaches, D2, D3 coaches, JUCO coaches are really good at doing. I think it was James Franklin that was quoted during the college football playoffs of saying, as a guy that started in D2, he's a much better coach than he would have been if he had started at the Power 4 level, because now he knows how to do everything.
It's like the Swiss Army knife of coaches,
Yeah.
jack of all trades, have a little ability to do everything pretty well. Curious with the cross country program, one of the questions Jimmy and I always love to ask the coaches, it's the hottest craze in distance running lately these past few years. Do the Buffaloes dabble in the double threshold?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And man, that took me a while to buy into, because my coaching friends will label us as a little more cautious than most. And I just felt like it made sense. I was probably a year or two behind everybody else. We had the kids that could handle it, and we did. And still to this day, where guys are probably banging out 6-mile progression in the morning and then into a big volume session in the afternoon. We keep most of our stuff pretty much minute based. The women will go 15 to 18 minutes. The guys will go 20 to 24 minutes. We're doing lactate testing during the session in the morning. So then we've got to break that up and be creative. So we're timing groups that are coming out, and you want to make sure you're maximizing the workout with recovery. So you're getting really creative with that. We've got an incredible sports science professor, Dr. Kirk English, that comes and does that with us, and so it's been successful. I really had to just break it down to the kids like this. Hey, here's the deal: you're doing a morning run already, so basically you're almost, you're cutting that back by, 5-8 minutes, and you're talking about 15% more effort for that period of time. Oh, okay, that makes sense. The women were a little more apprehensive than the guys, right? Obviously, Ingebrigtsen's is doing something; they'll all do it, but we don't. Our freshmen don't do double T, sophomore and beyond, and then just certain. You get kids that, and this is the joy of being in a place like this. You just don't need that, right? They need to be able to get through, 5K worth of workout volume at prescribed pace before they even need to think about doing a double threshold run. And so that's, we'll have 5 or 6 sessions going in any practice, any given Tuesday or Friday. And that's why. But anyway, yeah, double T, man. It's I made calls. Hey, what do you think? How's it work? How are you doing it? How are you? And it took a lot of time to make sure it was going to be right.
Coach, one of the first people who I think mentioned double threshold on our program, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, but I believe it was another NAIA coach. It was Coach Souter, right, Rich?
I believe so.
Yeah, and Coach Shadow, I don't know if you saw, but he hit us up. He's watching right now. He said, all the love and respect for Coach Layne. He is the man. So it's funny how that kind of goes full circle. And we were talking about that double threshold, but you had mentioned, Coach, that it is a Christian campus. It is a Christian
Yeah.
school. And Rich and I had the head coach of Cal Baptist wrestling on last week. And after we hopped off the call, we're like, man, when we grew up in a Catholic house, but going to a Christian school might have kind of not been on the table. But then after talking to him and talking to some other coaches, it's like, wow, this really kind of narrows down. Hey, I'm going to school. There's not going to be any of the extra stuff that kind of gets in the way of college. Do you feel that helps you in the recruiting process? And do you actually feel that it actually brings kids to your table that you might not even be looking at, but because of that faith aspect, it gets them through the door?
I think it's like anything, right? You're going to get a population of kids that want that, right? I want small private Christian liberal arts, right? Individual private school. You want that personal individual attention, right? You would hope a Christian institution would also provide that. But on the flip side, it's interesting. We're in East Tennessee, right? And so a lot of people go to church here, and it's a big part of everybody's life. And you know, on the flip side of that, it's finding that just going back to the ads and the football coaches. I think the fear of the unknown, right, will probably create some pause for people, and that would, if they open up their mind, give it a shot, they'd realize, hey, it's pretty cool, right? You don't have to go into ministry to be a Milligan. And that's what I really value. Milligan is two things they will not do. They will not back away from who they are academically just to get kids in the door. They won't back away from who they are from a faith perspective to get kids in the door. So they've stayed very true to who they are as an institution. Not everybody's been able to do that, and not everybody can do that. And so, because this is difficult times for a lot of schools like Milligan, and we've really transcended that by staying true to who we are. But you know, on the flip side of that, Milligan has a really neat balance to who it is as an institution. It doesn't apologize for what it does, but I really think if folks have an open mind to that element, they're going to find there's a lot more love and care and understanding and dialogue and conversation that goes on rather than you got to do things this way. I've seen a lot of people receive a lot of grace at Milligan in the 25 years that I've been here, and the beautiful part of that is you really don't, we got a lot of great kids, but that's definitely, it can work in either direction. And it's funny still though how that will be an important part of somebody's life, and they'll just think, man, I've got to go here or here because the perception is that's better than giving this a chance. When you know that the faith is an important part of who they are.
Yeah, I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, or I don't know if it's a sign of the times, but Rich and I talk about this all the time, how faith is numero uno. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. And you had mentioned that Milligan is doing so well right now because they are true to who they are, and they don't budge on the education or the faith side. So let's get into it. I know you mentioned it is a small liberal arts private college, but what are kids going to Milligan for? Is there any certain majors when they get there? What's the campus look like? What's there to do on campus, off campus, things like that?
Yeah, yeah. We're you guys know. I mean, we're in a beautiful part of the country. A lot of outdoor stuff in this region. You know, we've got the mountains out our back door, 30 minutes away, and so it's a really peaceful place. And I think again that plays into a positive in that regard. And so we don't control the geography here at all, but that is definitely something that's been beneficial. East Tennessee State's right down the road. Johnson City's flourishing. There's a lot to do. Restaurants. I mentioned the outdoor stuff. Our kids love the coffee shops. They love to hike. They love to do the outdoor stuff, and there's definitely foodies in that bunch, and so that's number one. I think geographically we're in a great place. Milligan's a beautiful campus, beautiful backdrop. Got a lot of old buildings. Buffalo Creek runs right along the perimeter of campus, and got a gorgeous chapel that is featured. It's definitely academically driven in a sense of 26 ACT, 3.536 GPA. That's the crux of the kids that are coming to Milligan. Engineering programs, maybe 10 years old, and it's absolutely blossoming. That's a big plus for us. Milligan really does a nice job in the sciences, occupational therapy, nursing. If you're going to hire a nurse in this region, they graduate from Milligan. I think they're going to move to the top of the list. Educators, sports science has really taken off because we've got a large student athlete population. So I think that's something that in recent years we've grown our sports science staff, exercise science. We've added a grad program in sport admin and coaching. And so, kids have the opportunity to now come to Milligan in undergrad, get an exercise science degree. If they want to go into coaching and expand on the administrative side of that, now they have an opportunity with a master's degree. Those are things that are small victories that I see from our administration that are saying, hey, we recognize what athletics is doing. Now let's build some bridges as we move forward and grow.
Having that beautiful backdrop has got to help with the cross country program. Do you let them get out on the trails and run it all?
If you go about 600 meters from the entrance to campus straight up the hill as a crow flies, the rails to trails, the Tweetsy Trail runs right in front of campus. And this is something that's probably 10 years old. It was a game changer for us. I know our kids probably get a little tired. We do our long runs there. We do our threshold work there, anytime. And the cool thing is you can go in different directions. So you try to change the scenery a little bit. And so that is definitely, and there are some segments of the Tweetsie Trail that are absolutely gorgeous. We've got a Milligan depot up there with a little stop and bench and building built that's got a beautiful overlook of the mountains. And so, it's and I love the soft surface element. That's what gets it for me. But you can go out and back 20 miles. And we don't ever really do that, but what that does is it gives you the ability to, and how the rails to trails are, right? If you go downhill one way, you're going uphill the other way. So, we can, depending upon where we are in the season, we can flip it and get a little bit creative with that. And then they have their own little spots. So really work hard to kind of keep them off the roads as much as possible.
Yeah, and that's such a huge selling point. I've been saying this for years. Where I went to college at Monmouth University, we weren't blessed with, we were pretty much running on the roads a fair amount of time. And as a distance runner and someone who's an ultra marathoner now, that is such a huge selling point, is the ability to be doing the bulk of your mileage on soft surfaces and your workouts too.
Yeah, we're fortunate, and I always remind them, hey, all these football teams, they practice on the same field every day.
Yep.
So,
same with the basketball team.
Same with the basketball team. That's right.
Coach, we have mentioned how good the distance program is. We are in the middle of indoor track. I know the indoor track nationals is going to be down here in Florida. How is the season going for y'all right now? How's indoor track looking, and how's the team looking for outdoor?
Yeah, just we're right in the middle of it. We've got conference next Monday and Tuesday. A little bit of we go to JDL Fast Track in Winston-Salem every year for our indoor meet, and a little bit of a scheduling snafu pushed us a little bit earlier than we would have liked into that Monday and Tuesday slot. So we're gearing up this week for conference. Really excited with where we are. This is a team we've got some youngsters that are really contributing, freshmen, sophomores, and then we've got some juniors and seniors that are really really continuing to improve and take steps. USTF CCCA ratings came out this last week, and we were 4th and 7th, and that's pretty competitive. We're a little more quality at the top than we are with regard to depth across the board, and so we'll see where all that lands. But Ellen Mary Kearney on the women's side, Alyssa Biazzi, Kirsten Gary, Bryn Woodall on the men's side. Luis Peralta was a game changer coming in and for us, and guys like Winston Telford, grad transfer, DJ Cornfield, really good young distance guy, and then just a host of those guys that were back, that really impacted cross for us this year. Zimri Kuhn, just a lot of leadership up top and a lot of young talent that I think we're in a good spot. Really excited about conference. And we're missing a little depth on the sprints, jumps, hurdles side on the women, as far as the women are concerned. On the men's side, we've got that, I think, to really complement what we're doing with the men on the distance side. And so excited to see, for us, it's like go into that conference meet every year, be the best version of yourself, set it up to score points, but don't overdo it, so your kids can come out and have life after. And that's the way we'll approach it. And sometimes you win that thing doing it that way, and sometimes you're second or third, and we're okay with that as far as conference is concerned. Because again, this is big picture. It's not going to be about a month or 2 months. It's going to be about developing these kids over a longer period of time. And those that are going to be fortunate enough to go into nationals, we want them to do that and utilize conference to set them up to go to nationals and run rounds. We are known for not tripling kids at nationals, running them in back-to-back events. We like to focus maybe on a relay in an individual event, and I've been criticized for that a little bit, but again, that just plays into our philosophy of just kind of bigger picture development. So yeah, really, really excited with where we are. I think you just if the bulk of your kids are moving forward, you look at that roster and 80, 85% of those kids are continuing to improve, you're always going to have a little bit of bad luck. You're always going to hit a hurdle along the way. And that's a measuring stick. Do all of our kids continue to get better? And that's what we're looking for.
Coach, I appreciate that mindset and almost giving a little built-in buffer of, hey, you're gonna trip on a hurdle every once in a while, but it's how you get up from tripping on that hurdle and how you perform after that. Qualifying for nationals is the most important. Yeah, we want to win everything, right? We're competitors, but we want to get there so we have an opportunity to do the best we can at nationals. So I really appreciate that mindset.
We went to dinner with my wife and daughter, and she has to ice bath, so we stopped at the Quick Mart, grabbed a couple bags of ice, and I'm jumping in the car, and I hear a female voice say Coach Layne, and it's a young lady that ran for us. My goodness, 8, 10 years ago, and she didn't finish at Milligan, and came up, gave me a big hug. We exchanged some pleasantries. She said, "Hey, I wanted to just let you know I'm running half marathons now," and and you beam a little bit because that's what you want. You don't want them to leave here being so burnt out that they never want to do this again because you know. Rich, as you know, it's a sport for life, right? And you get to do this for a long time, and there's a lot of mental development that goes into the sport, and they don't quite understand that even when they're in college. And so if you leave a little room there, right, to either want to keep doing it at a competitive level or keep doing it at a recreational level, that's a good feeling as a coach to know that they're still doing that. Some of them want to do it to prove you wrong. I know, I get that, but the large majority of them that are out there doing it because they still love to run, man, that's a great feeling.
Yeah, no doubt. That wasn't always like that in my coaching career. As a young guy, I was in it probably for the wrong reasons of notoriety and getting people to run fast to make myself look good. But now, I tell the kids all the time, like, if we run fast, that's great. I'm here to make you a better human, and two, when you're soon to be 49 like I am, I want you doing it when you're my age, that you still love it and you still have passion for it. Even if you're not racing, you're still using it as a fitness endeavor or a mental health endeavor, whatever it may be. I don't ever want you to be like, I don't ever want to do that again.
And I think we've all learned that. I think
Yeah.
if you're a young coach and you're not driven and you're not competitive and you aren't making mistakes and I always say that the hardest thing about being a coach at this level is getting kids to understand how good they can be.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want it badly for them, and that gets misconstrued or comes across the wrong way, or and that's really, I mean, and I think and as you age and mature, you figure that out, and but it's like anything in life. If you're not striving to be successful, why are you doing it? You learn, as you just hope to keep getting better over age, as you get older.
Aging like a fine wine.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Rich, do you have anything else for Coach before we get into the Final Four?
I do have one more, Coach. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but one of the things we like to do here is we like to, as we said, create connections, and long term we like to create pipelines and do different things from our junior college coach friends to the NAIA coaches in the other divisions and stuff. And so we had Tony Kreider on from Wallace State,
Oh yeah.
and he was talking about one of his athletes who was a All-American this year at the D2 JUCO Nationals, that he had his heart set on being a Milligan Buffalo. I was wondering if you were able to make that connection and if that was going to come to fruition for that young man.
Yes, it's Luke Kennedy. Yes, he's committed. We've announced Luke, and we're super excited for him. He's got a lot of great people in his corner. We've got a young man in our program now from Auburn, Alabama, and his dad reached out. Super excited about that. So yeah, Luke is one of those guys that he's got a great running acumen, but when he visited, our guys fell in love with him, and um, just super fun kid, great energy about him, loves what he does, and so yeah, he's gonna be a buff.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Great callback on that one, Rich.
Love
Coach, before we get
it.
into the final four, is there anything about Milligan that we haven't spoke on that you might want some recruits listening to this podcast to know?
Man, I just if you're, and I think you had Austin on here, and Coach Souter, and and again, I mean, lots of different levels. I think anybody would say this. If you're looking for something different, I tell every recruit, there's a promise you won't be better coached anywhere in the country than you will be at Milligan. Truly 100% believe in what we do, and so but you look at an institution with 1,200 students soaking wet, right? Man, that's a different experience. There's no football team. We do have T-shirts in the bookstore that say undefeated since 1956 with a football in the front. That's when they dropped the program. But no, it's a great place. 25 years, you don't settle in and stay somewhere if there aren't great people. And I'm not going to say that Milligan is packed with the world's brightest and best, but I will tell you it's packed with some great human beings, from the professor element, the administrative element. You're going to be a person at Milligan, and if you love what we're doing on the running side, you're not going to go wrong.
Rich, add another team to the list, man. We're gonna have to be right down that line when we're watching the national championships coming up here in a couple of
Absolutely.
weeks. Coach, first Final Four I got for you. Are you a coffee drinker?
Oh, absolutely.
How do you brew your coffee and how do you take it?
Yeah, so this is, and I'll be quick, but we just we had some credit card points and bought a really good all-in-one grinder, man, and so we until 2 days ago we were grinding our coffee and doing it the right way. My wife is British, so she appreciates a good coffee as well, and her mom does the press for us when we're over there, but yeah, but we just bought one of these little bougie efficient, like, because what we realized, you got to prepare every single cup, right? And so it's at 5 o'clock in the morning, it's a lot easier to just go back and pour. And so we've just gone to a new coffee machine that hopefully suits us well. But yeah, too much coffee to be quite probably 4 cups a day for sure, if not more.
Well,
Take it
Coach,
black,
sounds like
coach. Do you take your coffee black?
Uh, Little almond milk with a
Okay.
little flavor to it. And I am, just because I'm really starting to feel the pressure from a lot of different people I respect. I'm trying to ease back on the cream and sugar, and starting to get to that point at 54 years old where I'm getting it without too much of the accoutrements in there. So I'm working my way. What about you guys?
I do a little bit of heavy cream, like heavy
Yeah,
whipping cream.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then Jimmy's either a cold brew guy or he takes a jet black.
There you go. Love the cold brew too. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it's down here in Florida. I kind of like the when I need caffeine, like I like a good cup of coffee. I'll take a pour over all day. But when I want to get to work and get all the creative juices flowing, just give me that cold brew in 10 minutes. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Michelle Byrne, who I coached with at East Tennessee State, I didn't drink coffee until after grad school, and Michelle used to drink, and I used to think it was the worst stuff. Man, it's a staple. Look forward to it every morning.
Yeah.
You got a favorite roaster over there in East Tennessee?
What I do is, and I think we've got some right now, is brought back some Stumptown roaster
Okay.
from the West Coast, and that's what we were doing of late.
Okay. Right on. We get down with some Stumptown, right, Jim?
Yeah,
Heck yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, Rich, but Publix carries it now. They have
Do they?
Hairbender at the one here.
Oh yeah, the beans. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Coach, do you have any daily practices or rituals you do on a regular basis to show up as the strongest version of Chris Layne?
yeah. I just, my motto is, man, you're going to mess up, hit the floor every day, just trying to be better. That's it. Brain's always spinning. Just try to be better every single day.
I like it.
Coach, what are you listening to right now? Music, podcasts, audiobooks? Are you reading anything?
Yeah. By the way, did you watch your Grammys last night? I'm a big music guy. Mom was a music teacher. I'm a music guy for sure. Uh, Country music on an awful lot. But got a 16-year-old, and we'll listen to when she's driving. We're listening to a little hip hop from time to time. I have, and I'm embarrassed to say that it's still not complete, but I've got Shoe Dog sitting on my bedside table right now,
It's a
and
good
just had
one.
dad of one of our kids reached down, asked me if I'd read it yet, and I haven't, but um, that was on my list this year, was just read a little bit more, because other than that, man, it's just training books. Really just using those as resources, and running through those things as much as possible with workouts and ideas. That's probably where I spend most of my time if I've got a book in my hand.
Have you read Coach Vihill's biography yet?
No, my wife got me that for Christmas. I've got it, and heard great things about it. I hear Coach Holloway is at Florida. I hear his book's good as well. I think
I'll
that
have
just
to,
came out. So,
I'll have to check
yeah.
that one out. The other one is really good is Coach Mann's book about Northern Arizona.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yep.
That's a really
Yep.
good one. I did that one and Coach Vihill's book in like a week.
Running with the Buffaloes, that really, I think, kicked off all that mentality of folks getting comfortable. And Matt Baxter, I think, wrote a book about NAU as well. Is that
They
right?
Coach Mann and Matt wrote
Were
it
they
together.
together?
Yeah,
Okay, gotcha.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. It's really good. Coach, last one we have for you is a lighthearted one. It could be anything. Maybe it's you mentioned some of the restaurants up there. You mentioned your daughter. Maybe you're a closet Swiftie. Do you have a guilty pleasure?
um, we've got a little spot called Project Barbecue.
I'm in.
It's about 8 minutes from campus, and they're only open on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And I will slip out of the office, and if when I remember that it's Thursday or Friday and I'm in the office, I will definitely slip out of there. They've got some incredible brisket, and that's the deal.
All right, I like that's a good one. We love our brisket over here, don't we, Jim?
Yes, we do. Coach, thank you so much for your time. This conversation did not disappoint. You and the program have been on our radar for a while, so we're very excited that we got to have this conversation and have another awesome NAIA school to root for. So best of luck going forward, and thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, guys. Love what you're doing. I said it before. Appreciate you. You're doing an incredible job. Excited to follow you guys as well as all of us move forward. Keep up the great work.
Yeah, Coach, it's been an honor and a pleasure, and we are excited to follow along for the rest of the indoor season, outdoor, and definitely looking forward to seeing what everyone does, especially Luke coming in from Wallace next year in cross country. So best of luck to you with the conference and the indoor season coming up soon.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. That's Coach Chris Layne from Milligan University, Director of Track and Field and Cross Country. Three-time national champions, a runner-up on the men's side and fourth in the women's side this past fall. Go to the links in the show notes and make sure you give them a follow, give them some love, tell them that the Airey Bros sent you. And if you enjoyed this episode or any episode, it might resonate with a friend or family who's looking for a college or a university to take their athletics to a next level. By all means, share it with a friend and a family, and spread the message of the Airey Bros. We do greatly appreciate it. And we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to go belly to belly tomorrow night. We're going with Jesse Castro from Liberty University Wrestling. So we'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate